Hey y'all, it's Kim. So this is Libs of TikTok. It says, "Holy schlit." Nancy Pelosi is now claiming that she and others begged Trump to send in the National Guard on January 6th, which is another lie. Here's a video of Pelosi admitting that she was responsible for the failed security on January 6th, and then a letter from DC Mayor Muriel Bowser admitting they did not request the National Guard, and just more Democrats attempting to rewrite history with their lies. Let's look at this first video. This is from January 6th.
We did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have. This is ridiculous. You're going to ask me in the middle of the thing when they've already breached the inaugural stuff that should we call the Capitol Police? I mean, the National Guard? Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with?
They thought that they had sufficient
resources.
No,
there's not a question of how they don't know. They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for war.
Okay, so she just said, yeah, I guess she's talking to her daughter who was filming at the time. Anyway, or one of her staffers was filming, but she's still, I think, talking to the girl that was filming some type of documentary on her. But let's look at this. So now, here's, I guess, today.
In a bipartisan way, on January 6th, with violence against the Constitution, against the Congress, and against the United States Capitol, we begged the President of the United States to send in the National Guard. He would not do it. Not only would he not do it, when law enforcement people were being harmed, some later died, he would not send it in. When an instigation that an insurrection that he incited was causing damage to those assigned to protect the Capitol and the Constitution that day, to accept the results of the Electoral College.
Okay, and then let's look at this document. This was actually, let's see, Muriel Bowser, the mayor, January 5th, 2021, the Honorable Jeffrey Rosen, acting United States Attorney General, the Honorable Chris Miller, acting Secretary of Defense, and then the Honorable Ryan D. McCarthy, Secretary of the Army, 101 Army Pentagon, whatever. Dear Acting Attorney General Rosen, Secretary McCarthy, and Acting Secretary Miller, as the law enforcement agency charged with protecting presidents and visitors throughout the District of Columbia, the Metropolitan Police Department is prepared for this week's First Amendment activities. MPD has coordinated with its federal partners, namely the U.S. Park Police, U.S. Capitol Police, and the U.S. Secret Service, all of whom regularly have uniformed personnel protecting federal assets in the District of Columbia. This week, MPD has additional logistical support of unarmed members of the DC National Guard who will work under the direction of and in coordination with MPD. The District of Columbia government has not requested personnel from any other federal law enforcement agencies. To avoid confusion, we ask that any request for additional assistance be coordinated using the same process and procedures. We're mindful that in 2020, MPD was expected to perform the demanding task of policing large crowds while working around unidentifiable personnel deployed in the District of Columbia without proper coordination. Unidentifiable personnel, in many cases armed, cause confusion among residents and visitors and could become a national security threat with no way for MPD and federal law enforcement to decipher armed groups. To be clear, the District of Columbia is not requesting other federal law enforcement personnel, and discourages any additional deployment without immediate notification to and consultation with MPD if such plans are underway. The protection of persons and property is our utmost concern and responsibility. MPD is well trained and prepared to lead the law enforcement coordination and response to allow for the peaceful demonstration of First Amendment rights in the District of Columbia. And this is sincerely Muriel Bowser, the mayor, Congress or CC Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton. So you see it in their own words that they didn't want them coming for the National Guard. That's from the mayor of DC. So Nancy Pelosi sitting up here saying that he didn't send them in. He had 10,000 waiting. But, of course, what is it? January 6th is always going to be one of those days. They're going to just hold an infamy. And every time you hear something come out of their mouth, it has to do with January 6th, January 6th, January 6th. Okay, let's see here. I just want to see what this says. Every single House and Senate seat that flipped from Republican to Democrat after Election Day, November 5th, 2024, should be investigated and forensically audited. This is Nancy Pelosi's daughter, 18 effing days after Election Day, essentially announcing, hold on, she's on her way with an army to steal the election. What does this have to do with anything? No state in the union is more corrupt than the state of California. Yeah, I don't know what this has to do with anything. Let's see. Hold on, it's taking a minute.
My love is curing ballots with my friends. I can't wait to get on the road again.
Ugh.
I'm off to the Central Valley to cure ballots in California 13. Join me, mobilize.us
Cure
/
ballots? What the hell does that mean? I've never heard that word. Okay, so grateful to everyone working the Democrats' ballot cure phone banks with their volunteer army today. House Dems will flip California 13 and California 45 because the voters chose to change and progress. What? What in the world does that mean? All right, sending you this photo of the troops on the floor during Nancy Pelosi's reign of terror. You are a simple little fool. Marines don't give a fuck where they sleep. What does that mean? I guess, are they responding to this post or this is just a separate one about? Okay, let's see. Documents prove President Trump requested National Guard on January 6th. The Pentagon delayed Trump's request, and then Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, their administration, Nancy Pelosi, and the J6 committee hid the evidence and lied about it. Let's see. Let's see what this has to say. It's taking a minute. Okay. So let me see if I can make it any bigger. Oh, it's not doing it. Oh, shoot. Hold on. I'm trying to make this bigger. All right. Dang it. So download it. Let me see if I can do it this way.
I have,
Well,
I am calling for the resignation of the chief of the Capitol Police, Mr. Sund, and I have received notice from Mr. Irving that will be submitting his resignation.
We have responsibility, Terry. We did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have. This is ridiculous. You're going to ask me in the middle of the thing when they've already breached the inaugural stuff should we call the Capitol Police? I mean, the National Guard? Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with?
Chief Sund, in your transcribed interview, you mentioned that you met with the House Sergeant at Arms regarding the National Guard prior to January 6th. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And who is the House Sergeant at Arms leading up to and on January 6th?
That would be Paul Irving.
And the House Sergeant at Arms is appointed by who?
As appointed that at that time by Speaker Pelosi.
And in your transcribed interview, you mentioned that when you first brought up the National Guard to the House Sergeant at Arms in the days leading up to January 6th, that Mr. Irving said he, quote, didn't like the optics, end quote. Is that correct?
Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with?
That is correct. He referenced being concerned for optics.
And on January 6th, when he went to Mr. Irving to get his approval to call in the Guard, Mr. Irving said he would, quote, run it up the chain. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That was a telephone call. I didn't see him in person when I first made that request.
The House Sergeant at Arms is considered probably the most senior security official on the House side. When Mr. Irving says he has to, quote, run it up the chain, end quote, what did that mean?
I took that to mean his leadership chain.
And who would be his leadership chain? If he's functionally the most senior security official on the House side, correct?
That's his title. That's part of the title, the senior law enforcement official for the House of Representatives. But he would have been referring to the leadership team that goes up to Speaker Pelosi.
But there was a failure of leadership at the top of the Capitol Police.
So running up the chain would most likely, in your opinion, is through the Speaker's office and possibly to Speaker Pelosi?
That would be where it ends, yes.
But there was a failure of leadership at the top of the Capitol Police.
In a press conference on January 7th, Speaker Pelosi called for your resignation on national television.
I am calling for the resignation of the chief of the Capitol Police, Mr. Sund, and I have received notice from Mr. Irving that he is,
Well, anyway, let's see if we can get this document to get a little bit bigger. I want this opened. Well, shoot. Let me do it this way. Take a screenshot. We gotta make it big. Okay, download. I just want to, because I'm just now getting into these, so I want to see if I can make it bigger. Okay. Dang it, it's messing up. It's getting worse. Let's see if I can read some of this. Okay, previously concealed by the Biden-Harris administration's Department of Defense, the subcommittee has uncovered statements by key personnel involved in the deployment of the D.C. National Guard to the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. These new transcripts indicate that senior Pentagon officials unnecessarily delayed the DNC or DC National Guard response to the Capitol on January 6th due to optics concerns. The DoD IG claims that the actions at the Pentagon were reasonable in light of the circumstances at the Capitol on January 6, 2021. The IG also determined that DoD officials did not delay or obstruct the DoD's response to the U.S. Capitol Police's request for assistance on January 6, 2021. General Mark Milley, Chairman, Joint Chiefs of Staff, January 3rd, 2021. The president just says, hey, look at this. There's going to be a large amount of protesters here on the 6th. Make sure that you have sufficient National Guard or soldiers to make sure it's a safe event. POTUS said, hey, I don't care if you use guard or soldiers, active duty soldiers, do whatever you have to do. Just make sure it's safe. Christopher Miller, Acting Secretary of Defense, the president commented that they were going to need 10,000 troops the following day. I interpreted it as a bit of presidential banter or President Trump banter that you are all familiar with, and in no way, shape, or form did I interpret that as an order or direction. On January 6, 2021, everyone was like, did you listen to the president's speech? I'm like, the guy speaks for 90 minutes. It's like Castro or something. No, I've got work to do. I was cognizant of the fears that the president would invoke the Insurrection Act to politicize the military in an anti-democratic way. And just before the Electoral College certification, 10 former secretaries of defense signed an op-ed piece published in the Washington Post warning of the dangers of politicizing and using inappropriately the military. No such thing was going to occur on my watch. There is absolutely no way I was putting U.S. military forces at the Capitol, period. The operational plan was this: let's take the D.C. National Guard, keep them away from the Capitol. Chief Stephen Sund, U.S. Capitol, says I'm making an urgent request for the National Guard. We are being overrun. I gave a quick rundown of what we had going on, and the officers out there are fighting for their lives. We're about to be taken over. The representative from the Secretary of the Army said, I don't like the optics of the National Guard standing in the line with the Capitol in the background. I explained to them that the building is being breached. I need their assistance immediately. General Platt said, my recommendation to the Secretary of the Army is not to support the request. Wow. To me, that seems a bit explosive as far as their stupid narrative that Trump didn't send in the National Guard and all that stuff. I mean, they had people in the army saying, or in the military saying it, the Pentagon officials. So, yeah, this whole thing, it's like everything always comes out. If you dig far enough and deep enough, you'll get the answers. So, anyway, this just says that documents prove President Trump requested National Guard on January 6th. Pentagon delayed Trump's request. And then Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, their administration, Nancy Pelosi, and the January 6th committee hid the evidence and lied about it. Interesting. Let's see. I don't know. This is basically about her, I guess. So many directions we can go with this. I'll be good. We all know what happened after this. Her dad moved to San Francisco. She was elected to Congress, became the Speaker of the House. Nancy Pelosi became corrupt, and that's the rest of the story. Nancy D'Alessandro is today known as Nancy Pelosi, the former Miss Lube Rack, 1959. Once upon a time, Nancy Pelosi was Miss Lube Rack. What in the world? Her dad, I think, was a gangster in Baltimore. Anyway, so she doesn't come from very good stock, I don't think. Basically, this is the problem in California. Gavin Newsom, Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, Harris Swalwell, Maxine Waters, Kamala Harris. No wonder the state is in the crapper because you have people like them. Donald Trump offered to send 10,000 troops, and Nancy Pelosi herself and Muriel Bowser both declined that offer. She's lying, and there's proof she's lying. Let's see what Kash Patel has to say, and then I'm going to probably cut this off.
What were you doing on that day?
On that day specifically, responding to preparing to mobilize and deploy the National Guard once we got the lawful request from the local governing authority, which was the mayor of
Sorry.
DC and the Speaker of the House.
Now, how many days in advance were you working to prepare the Department of Defense to help secure the Capitol on January 6th?
Days in advance, Senator, we were in the Oval Office on an unrelated national security matter with the President of the United States, the Secretary of Defense, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and myself. And the President authorized up to 20,000 plus National Guardsmen and women to secure any security measures necessary related to the Capitol. So we were moving to the fullest extent of the law before the requisite request came from a local governing authority days ahead of time.
And while you were Chief of Staff at DOD, how many times did DOD approach Capitol Police and ask if they needed National Guard assistance?
I believe those letters are well documented, numerous instances, and numerous of those instances, those requests were shut down.
Now, am I correct that the Capitol Sergeant at Arms said assistance was unnecessary?
That's correct, Senator.
Who did the Sergeant at Arms report to?
The Speaker of the House.
That would have been Nancy Pelosi at the time. Is that correct?
Yes, Senator.
And would that also be Chuck Schumer, then the Senate Majority Leader?
The Sergeant at Arms, yes, Senator, reports up there.
Did Mayor Bowser the Democrat elected mayor in DC either request or allow National Guard assistance?
She put in writing on the days leading up to January 6th, a declination for National Guard additional support. And that letter is available publicly to the world.
And just to speak English for folks at home, a declination meant she said, no, don't send National Guard. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you a simple question, because from the questioning from my Democrat colleagues, they might think otherwise. Do you condemn violence against law enforcement?
All of it.
Yeah, they just get caught in their lies, boy. And that's every time they have a meeting. Jamie Ratskin, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, they all they take the opportunity to mention something about January 6th every stinking time. And it's like it was a problem of their own making.
What were you
Anyway,
doing?
let me go ahead and cut this off. All right, I just had to share that. I just saw it on another podcast and I was like, excuse me, you are lying. And then I think it is kind of interesting because they were talking about how quickly Trump sent in the National Guard of California. But if he had delayed, you know that they would have been like, he's not helping his own people out. Just like Gavin Newsom lied and said that Trump didn't try to call him. I think there was record that he called him on Saturday and this stuff popped off on Friday in California. So it's kind of like they just have to lie, man. Just the lies and the gaslighting and just the constant don't believe your lying eyes. It's so Orwellian as far as I'm concerned. Like we live in 1984 where they try to rewrite history, and I guess because they know that their supporters are just gonna support them no matter what. But you've got to wake up and see that these people just lie with impunity. Anytime they open their damn mouth, it's a lie. It's some kind of hyperbole. They try to rewrite everything. It's like, oh my gosh, there's receipts out there. You could have them on camera doing something, and then they'll say, oh, I didn't do it. Just like that congresswoman up there, like in New Jersey, McIver, where she said she wasn't assaulting that guy. She was throwing her body into his back, or a girl, whatever it was, in front of the lady. I mean, these people are just, I mean, they'll lie and you've got them right on damn camera. It just didn't make a damn bit of sense. Anyway, I will talk to y'all later. I've got more stuff I want to record. But anyway, hopefully you're getting enjoyments, revelations out of this stuff, because I sure do whenever I see stuff like this, other people sharing things and then I reshare it because I'm like, hey, that's not good. But anyway, talk to y'all later. Bye.